One country has kept obesity under 5%, while the rest of the developed world is pushing past 30%, and they're not starving, they're not counting calories, they're not spending hours at the gym, they're eating something most Westerners won't even touch, something that quietly reprograms how your body stores and burns. Fat at the cellular level. I'm going to show you exactly what it is, why it works, and how to start using it today. But first I need to address something directly. A lot of you watching health videos online have started asking the right questions. Is this real? Is this a real doctor? That is a healthy instinct. Good for you. I'm Dr. Meilin. I've spent over a decade in clinical practice and metabolic research. The information I share comes from peer-reviewed studies. I'll cite them by name throughout this video. Judge the science, not just the face delivering it. Now, let's get into what Japan is actually doing differently. Because here's what most people believe about staying lean: eat less, move more, count every calorie. That's it. That's the whole advice. But here's something that should completely upend that thinking. The Japanese consume more carbohydrates per capita than most Western nations. They eat white rice at almost every single meal, and yet their rates of metabolic syndrome, visceral fat, and type 2 diabetes remain among the lowest. On Earth, how is that possible? The difference isn't how much they eat, it's what they eat alongside those carbohydrates. That combination changes everything, and I want to be clear before we go further. Japan doesn't have a zero obesity rate. They have sumo wrestlers, they have fast food chains, they have processed snacks. The claim isn't that Japanese people never gain weight. The claim is that their traditional dietary pattern, when followed, produces measurably different metabolic outcomes than the standard Western diet. A global study analyzing 132 countries confirmed this, published in a nutrition journal. Countries scoring higher on traditional Japanese dietary patterns had dramatically lower obesity rates, even after controlling for GDP, lifestyle, and socioeconomic factors. So the question isn't whether it works. The data says it does. The question is why, and the answer starts somewhere most diet programs completely ignore: your gut. Here's how I want you to think about your digestive system. Picture a massive factory floor, thousands of workers, bacteria processing everything you eat. In a healthy gut, these workers are efficient. They extract nutrients, they produce appetite-regulating hormones, they send clear signals to your brain that say, "We're full, stop eating." But in most Western guts right now, the factory is understaffed. Its chaotic years of processed food, refined sugar, and low-fiber diets have killed off the skilled workers and replaced them with bacteria that do the opposite. They make you hungrier, they inflame your tissues, they instruct your body to store more fat, especially around your organs. That's called visceral fat. You can't see it in the mirror, you can't pinch it, but it wraps itself around your liver, your pancreas, your intestines, and it pumps out inflammatory chemicals called cytokines. Those chemicals drive insulin resistance, cardiovascular disease, and in some cases, certain cancers. This is not superficial weight. This is the fat that determines your long-term health trajectory. Now here's the important part. The traditional Japanese diet may be the most powerful gut microbiome optimizing diet on Earth. It's loaded with fermented foods, soluble fiber, marine omega-3s, and polyphenols. These compounds essentially restock that factory floor with the most efficient fat-fighting workers nature has ever produced. Let me walk you through exactly how that happens. Starting with the food most viewers have been asking about in the comments. The answer is natto, N-A-T-T-O. It's a traditional Japanese food made from soybeans fermented with a bacterium called Bacillus subtilis. The texture is sticky, stringy, the smell is strong, and I understand that for most Westerners, the first reaction is absolutely not, but stay with me, because what this food does inside your body is remarkable. Here's what it does to your gut microbiome. Your gut is home to two major bacterial families, Bacteroidetes and Firmicutes. Research has consistently linked a higher ratio of Firmicutes to Bacteroidetes with obesity in humans. When you eat natto regularly, you tip that ratio back. You increase Bacteroidetes, you decrease Firmicutes. You're essentially shifting your gut toward the lean bacterial profile, a study in the Journal of Molecular Nutrition. And food research found that regular natto intake significantly reduced visceral fat accumulation in a dose-dependent manner, meaning the more you ate, the more visceral fat decreased. It also suppressed fatty acid synthesis in the liver and promoted fatty acid breakdown. And here's the critical detail. The fermented version was substantially more potent than plain soybeans. Why? Think of regular soybeans as a locked toolbox. The nutrients are inside, but your body can barely access them because of compounds called antinutrients, specifically trypsin inhibitors that block absorption. Fermentation is the key that opens that toolbox. It releases bioavailable isoflavones. It releases nattokinase enzymes. It delivers live probiotic bacteria that survive your stomach acid and reach your intestines intact. Most probiotic supplements can't do that. Natto can. One more thing for the viewers who asked about thyroid conditions. Several of you asked whether natto and miso are safe for hypothyroid patients. This is a legitimate question. Soy in large amounts has been shown to potentially interfere with thyroid hormone absorption, particularly levothyroxine. If you are on thyroid medication, speak with your physician before making natto or miso a daily staple. The interaction is real and worth discussing with your doctor directly. Now let's talk about the second mechanism, and this one surprised me the first time I encountered the research. Your body has two types of fat. Most people only know about white fat. White fat stores energy. It expands. It's the fat you can see. But you also have brown fat. Brown fat doesn't store energy. It burns energy. It generates heat through a process called thermogenesis. Think of it like a built-in space heater inside your body. Here's the interesting part. Most adults have very little active brown fat. It tends to go dormant, but there's a specific compound that can switch it back on. It's called agape-galacatechin gallate, and it's found in green tea. But here's where Japan does something very different from the West. In Japan, matcha is consumed as a fine powder whisked directly into water. You're ingesting the entire leaf, not just steeped water that you throw away. That difference delivers up to 137 times more egg compared to a standard cup of steeped green tea. 137 times. That's not a marginal difference. That's a completely different compound profile. A systematic review published in the journal Nutrients analyzed 10 experimental studies and confirmed that green tea catechins, which egg is a part of, pregulate a protein called UCP1, uncoupling protein 1. That is the molecular switch that turns brown fat on. When UCP1 is activated, your brown fat begins burning white fat as fuel. Your body literally consumes its own stored fat to generate heat. Research from the University of Geneva demonstrated that green tea extract increased 24-hour energy expenditure by 4%. And this is the part that matters. It was not the caffeine. When researchers tested caffeine alone at the same dose, there was zero effect on metabolic rate, zero. It was specifically the catechin-caffeine combination working together, amplifying noradrenaline signaling and keeping the fat-burning switch on. Now, one viewer asked a very practical question that I want to address directly. What exactly am I supposed to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? These are just additions. Fair point. Let me make this concrete. I'll come back to the full meal structure in a few minutes. But first, let me finish explaining the third mechanism, because this one is the quiet engine behind everything. Fiber. The traditional Japanese diet delivers fiber at levels most Western diets never come close to, through seaweed, root vegetables, barley, and fermented plant foods. A study from the Fukuoka Registry examining over 4,300 Japanese patients found that higher dietary fiber intake was significantly associated with lower BMI, lower fasting glucose, lower triglycerides, and lower inflammatory markers, even after adjusting for age, sex, and total calorie intake. Here's why fiber matters. Beyond digestion, fiber feeds your beneficial gut bacteria. Those bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids, especially one called butyrate. Butyrate does two things that are critical. First, it strengthens your intestinal barrier. It prevents inflammatory molecules from leaking into your bloodstream. That leak, called intestinal permeability, or leaky gut, is one of the drivers of systemic inflammation. Second, butyrate signals your brain through the gut-brain axis to reduce appetite. You feel genuinely satisfied. On less food, not deprived, not fighting cravings, satisfied. That's a biological signal, not willpower. Now let me give you the actual foods, the amounts, and the preparation methods. Because preparation matters more than most people realize, and most people are destroying these foods before they ever get the benefit. Food 1. Natto. 50 grams daily, roughly one small traditional pack. Eat it at breakfast with rice. If the texture bothers you, mix it with a small amount of soy sauce and mustard. That's exactly how it's traditionally eaten. Several viewers asked, is natto powder acceptable? Natto powder is better than nothing, but it's not equivalent to whole natto. The live bacteria may be reduced or absent depending on processing. Frozen natto from an Asian grocery store is a better substitute. The bacteria reactivate after thawing. Whole natto, live bacteria, nattokinase, isoflavones, soluble fiber, vitamin K2. Natto supplement, one enzyme, no fiber, no live bacteria. The whole food is not replaceable by a capsule. Food 2. Matcha green tea. 1 to 2 teaspoons of ceremonial grade powder daily, roughly 2 to 3 grams. Whisk it into water heated to 175 degrees Fahrenheit, not boiling. Boiling water denatures up to 60% of the egg. That stat alone is worth pausing on. 60%, drink it in the morning or early afternoon. 2 additions that change absorption dramatically. Adding a squeeze of lemon increases egg absorption by up to 6 times. Adding cow's milk decreases it by up to 80%. The casein proteins in dairy bind to catechins and block them. Plant-based milks do not have this effect. Food 3. Miso soup. 1 bowl daily made from unpasteurized miso paste. Unpasteurized is the key word. Pasteurization kills the beneficial bacteria. Most miso sold in standard grocery stores is pasteurized. Look for it in Asian grocery stores or health food stores. Refrigerated section. Dissolve 1 tablespoon into warm not boiling water or dashi broth. Add seaweed, tofu, and scallions. This delivers both probiotics and prebiotic fiber in a single bowl. Food 4. Seaweed. 5 to 10 grams of dried wakame or kombu, 3 to 4 times per week. Add it to soups, salads, or rice bowls. Seaweed contains a compound called fucoxanthin. Studies have shown fucoxanthin specifically targets visceral fat by increasing the expression of UCP1 in white adipose tissue, essentially converting white fat cells toward a brown fat-like phenotype, white fat learning to burn like brown fat. That's a powerful shift. Food 5. Fatty fish. 3 servings weekly. Salmon, mackerel, sardines, or any omega-3 rich seafood. Minimum 284 milligrams of omega-3 per serving. EPA and DHA, the omega-3 fatty acids found in fatty fish, maintain brown fat activity and reduce systemic inflammation. Grill or bake, never deep fry. Deep frying destroys the omega-3s and introduces inflammatory oils that work against everything else you're doing. Food 6. Fermented pickles, what Japanese call tsukemono. A small portion daily, 30 to 50 grams. Traditional Japanese pickles fermented in rice bran Nukadoko are loaded with lactobacillus bacteria that further diversify your gut microbiome. Look for naturally fermented varieties, not vinegar pickled versions, those lack lev cultures. Check the ingredient label. If it just says vinegar, it's not the same thing. Food 7. Barley rice blend. Replace pure white rice with a mugi gohan blend, barley and rice combined at least once daily. A cross-sectional study found that obese Japanese individuals who ate more barley had significantly higher populations of butyrate-producing bacteria in their guts. The ratio, 70% white rice, 30% barley. That alone is an easy, low-friction swap. Now, back to the viewer who asked what a full day of eating actually looks like. The Japanese have a dietary framework for this. It's called Ichiju Sansai. 1 soup, 3 sides, plus rice. Breakfast might look like this: a bowl of rice, 1 small pack of natto, a bowl of miso soup with seaweed and tofu, a small side of pickled vegetables. Lunch, a bowl of barley rice, a piece of grilled salmon, a small seaweed salad, steamed vegetables or a simmered root dish. Dinner, miso soup, again your second serving. Fish or tofu as a protein, 2 small vegetable sides, perhaps pickled, and 1 cooked. That's it. High fiber, moderate protein. Fermented foods at every meal. Naturally portion controlled without measuring anything. The structure manages portions for you. Which brings me to a practice called Hara Hachibu. It's an Okinawan principle: eat until you're 80% full. Here's the biology behind it. It takes roughly 20 minutes for your gut satiety hormones to reach your brain. When you stop at 80%, by the time those signals arrive, you feel perfectly satisfied. Not stuffed, not deprived, satisfied. Studies suggest this single habit reduces caloric intake by 15 to 20% without any sensation of restriction. Now let me walk through the most common mistakes, because getting this wrong negates most of the benefit. Mistake 1. Expecting results in 1 week. Your gut microbiome takes 4 to 8 weeks to meaningfully restructure itself. Natto doesn't change your bacterial profile after 1 serving. Matcha doesn't reactivate your brown fat overnight. The Japanese aren't lean because they tried these foods once. They eat them every single day, year after year. Consistency is the mechanism, not intensity. Consistency. Mistake 2. Boiling your matcha or miso. I mentioned this for matcha already. The same rule applies to miso. Drop miso paste into a rolling boil and you kill the probiotics entirely. Always remove the pot from heat first. Then stir in the miso, 175 degrees for matcha, warm not boiling water for miso. These are non-negotiable preparation rules. Mistake 3. Choosing supplements over whole foods. I see this constantly. People buy nattokinase capsules instead of eating natto. Matcha extract pills instead of drinking matcha. You lose the fiber, you lose the synergistic compounds, you lose the gut bacteria themselves. A nattokinase supplement gives you 1 enzyme. Actual natto gives you the enzyme plus live Bacillus subtilis, plus isoflavones, plus soluble fiber, plus vitamin K2. Whole foods deliver the entire package. Supplements give you a photocopy of 1 page. Mistake 4. Judging progress by the scale alone. If you start this protocol and your waist shrinks by 1 inch but the scale hasn't moved, you are succeeding. You're losing visceral fat. You may be building lean tissue simultaneously. The scale cannot distinguish between those 2 things. Measure your waist circumference weekly. That is the accurate metabolic health marker. Now for the question I know some of you are already thinking. What if you're allergic to soy? Several viewers asked this. The soy-based foods natto, miso, tofu can be substituted for fermented probiotics, kimchi, kefir, yogurt with live cultures, or sauerkraut, for fiber and gut diversity, more barley, more seaweed, more root vegetables, for isoflavones. The benefit is more limited, but flaxseed provides some plant lignans with similar properties. You don't need every single food on this list. You need the pattern fermented, fibrous, omega-3 rich, minimally processed. That pattern is the engine. These foods are just the most efficient way to run it. Let me now anchor everything in the actual research because I want you to be able to verify every claim I've made. Study 1. Researchers at the Jilin Academy of Agricultural Sciences fed obese rats natto powder for 8 weeks. The natto group showed significant reductions in body weight. It balanced cholesterol metabolism by inhibiting liver X receptor pathways, and it reshaped the gut microbiome, increasing bacteroidetes and decreasing firmicutes. Measured by metagenomic analysis, quantifiable, reproducible. Study 2. Using mouse models of diet-induced obesity, Bacillus subtilis natto treatment for 8 weeks significantly reduced body weight, epididymal fat, perirenal fat, and liver weight. Serum triglycerides and total cholesterol both dropped. Fatty acid synthesis was suppressed. Fatty acid catabolism was promoted. Study 3. The University of Geneva's thermogenesis study. Green tea extract containing 90 milligrams of egg and 50 milligrams of caffeine produced a statistically significant 4% increase in 24-hour energy expenditure. The respiratory quotient dropped from 0.88 to 0.85, indicating a measurable shift from carbohydrate burning to fat burning. Caffeine alone, zero effect. Study 4. The 1-3-2 Nation Global Analysis. Traditional Japanese diet score was inversely correlated with obesity rate, p-value, less than 0.001, controlling for GDP, education, healthcare spending, and smoking rates. Countries eating more like Japan were leaner across every continent, every economy. This is not anecdote. This is controlled, measured, reproducible science. Let me bring this home. Gaining weight as you age is not inevitable. Metabolic decline is not hardwired into your DNA. Here's the proof. When Japanese people move to Western countries and adopt Western diets, their obesity rates rise to match their new neighbors within 1 generation. The same genetics, different food, different outcome. The people who maintain metabolic health into their 60s, 70s, and beyond are not doing anything extreme. They're consistently feeding their bodies foods that support for biological systems. A diverse gut microbiome, active brown adipose tissue, low systemic inflammation, stable blood sugar. Every one of those systems exists inside your body right now. They're not broken, they're just waiting for the right signals. And those signals come from your plate, not from a pharmacy, not from a fad diet, not from willpower alone. You can start sending those signals today. Here's a quick summary of everything we covered. Japan's 4.5% obesity rate is driven by diet composition. Not genetics, not starvation. A 1-3-2 country study confirmed traditional Japanese dietary patterns inversely predict obesity. Natto reshapes your gut microbiome by increasing bacteroidetes and reducing firmicutes. It reduces visceral fat in a dose-dependent manner. Eat 50 grams daily. Frozen natto works if fresh isn't available. Matcha delivers up to 137 times more egg than steeped green tea. Egg activates brown fat through UCP1 upregulation. 1 to 2 teaspoons daily at 175 degrees with lemon, no dairy milk. Miso soup provides both probiotics and prebiotics in one bowl. Unpasteurized only, warm water never boiling. Seaweed contains fucoxanthin, which converts white fat cells toward a fat-burning phenotype. 5 to 10 grams, 3 to 4 times weekly. Fatty fish 3 times weekly sustains brown fat activity and lowers inflammation. Fermented pickles and barley rice diversify your gut microbiome and increase butyrate production. The ichiju. Sansai meal structure naturally controls portions without counting calories. Hara hachi bu eating to 80% full reduces intake by 15 to 20% without deprivation. Measure waist circumference weekly, not just body weight. Your metabolic health is not a fixed destination. It's a living system, and it responds to what you feed it every single day. If this was useful to you, I'd genuinely appreciate 2 things. Share this with someone in your life who's been struggling with stubborn weight or metabolic issues, and subscribe so this channel can continue putting evidence-based information in front of people who actually need it.